In the description under each video there is a link to the LGBT dating Telegram channel. Subscribe and find your other half in life.
Lauren's POV. The first day was always the most calm, only presentations and meetings. Richard, who used to be the director, was leaving too quickly, not giving me enough time to see how everything was going. Earlier today he introduced me to the woman who would help me with this hard task. Camilla Cabello. Despite her evident nervousness, she seemed to be someone competent and hardworking. From Richard's recommendations, Camilla was on top of every detail of the company, like a good secretary or right arm. Besides being an extremely attractive woman, Ms. Cabello, like I called her, was a beautiful brunette with Latin features. Her thin face was beautifully carved, her nose was small and her mouth fleshy, and I could notice that her eyes were brown. She was wearing a tight and mottled turquoise dress, highlighting her beautiful curves. Her hair was dark, straight, mid-back length, and it was partially tied by a delicate bow in the back. Her gaze was fearful and somewhat scared of me. Do I really scare her that much? What does she know about me? Jesus. I was as gentle as possible, which wasn't in my nature, but the scared young lady deserved kindness since she would practically be my companion there. I explained to her the way I like to work, and everything that I would need on my day-to-day. Camilla seemed to understand everything perfectly well. She wrote down some things in her small blue notepad and then she left. For the rest of the day I studied some reports left in my office, and from what I've seen, everything's going well in here. But needed improvement, I thought. Even though I was trying to focus on those papers, something, or rather, someone, was distracting me. Since last night, the dancer hasn't left my head, not even for a minute. The image of her dancing so sensually was imprinted in my thoughts. Damn it, Lauren. How could I let a woman, who I didn't even exchange a word with, invade my mind so quickly? I shook my head, trying to push away the image of that brunette swaying her hips in a sexy way for me. That's right, for me. But it was impossible. I needed to see her again. At the end of her show I felt somewhat frustrated and happy because she didn't receive customers. If she didn't receive anyone who offered her money, she had a good character. And that was when I felt even more desire to see her, but my desire was turned down. Ms. Yaregui? I heard someone call me, taking Carla off my thoughts. Camilla entered the office shyly. I brought the coffee that you asked for, it's quite hot, she said, placing it next to me. Thank you, Ms. Cabello. Do you know if Richard is in the company? She walked to the front of my desk, with the little tray in her hands. He already left, ma'am, most already did. I looked at her, somewhat confused. Everyone was leaving already? What time was it? I grabbed my phone looking at the screen, and it was past 8 p.m. Oh my God, it's already past 8. What are you still doing here, Cabello? Well, ma'am, I was finishing the reports you asked me to. Leave them for tomorrow, you can go home, sometimes I forget the time. I'd ask that you help me with that too, or you'll be working all night. Camilla nodded quietly, and I stared at the woman standing in front of me, analyzing her surreptitiously. Something about her was familiar, I just didn't know what. Maybe I was going crazy. I was so focused on the dancer that I saw her in every woman that I found attractive. The girl was somewhat uncomfortable under my gaze, so I quickly stopped. Can I leave? Of course. See you tomorrow, Cabello. Good night, Ms. Yaregui. Good night. I stayed for another hour in the office, battling with myself, whether I should go or not to that club. I couldn't let anyone see me there. What would they say? But the desire to see her again was rampant. Carla affected me in such a way that the only thing I could think about was of having her to myself. I thought about calling Vero and tell her to meet me at Imperium again, but maybe I should go alone. I got up, grabbing my purse and my blazer, and then I left that office, going towards the parking lot, where I got into my car and drove through the streets of Miami. I drove a few times around the club, fighting with myself to just leave. For years I didn't allow myself to get involved with a woman, maybe because my work took too much of my time, more than it should. I parked the car in front of the club, and from the outside I could already hear the music that was playing inside. I leaned my head against the steering wheel, thinking I should leave, but my body, in pure instinct, resolved to do the opposite. I straightened the thin scarf around my neck and got out of the car, walking towards the entrance. I paid the entrance fee and went in search of that woman. Today the club was less busy, of course. Who the hell frequents clubs on a Monday? I shook my head, still heading to the main bar. I bought a shot of whiskey and just sat right there. Some women were dancing on the pole, but none of them compared to the brunette from the night before. I stayed there for a few minutes. Maybe today was her day off, I thought. Good evening, can you tell me if Carla's performing today? I asked the woman with a well-sculpted body. Carla? Oh, no, she doesn't perform today. Her days are Friday and Saturday. But I was here yesterday and she was performing, I said politely. Yesterday was an exception. Carla danced by Candace's request, but usually it's only on the days that I told you. I was somewhat disappointed for going there and not seeing her. I'm sorry, but what's your name? I asked. My name's Normani, she said in a friendly way. Well, thank you, Normani, you saved me from waiting here all night. I said with half a smile, and then I got off the stool I was sitting on. Listen, ma'am, I heard the woman call me. If you want to see her, you can come tomorrow. She rehearses every Tuesday here in Imperium. The club is open, but like today, it's less busy. I smiled instantly at the woman who gave me the best news. You most certainly helped me a lot, thank you, I said, more excited than I should. Normani smiled at me and I did the same, and then I left and headed towards my house. Camilla's POV. I researched more about that woman, about Alexa. I wanted to find something about her personal life, but since Lauren was such a private person, no one knew anything. I grunted, frustrated, in front of my computer screen where there was only one picture of my boss. She always looked so elegant that it was hard to imagine that when she wakes up, she might be at least a little messy. What are you doing so much in that computer? Allie asked, approaching me with her cute slippers and a cup of hot coffee in her hands. Researching some stuff, I answered calmly. She sat down next to me, but without looking at the computer screen, taking a sip of her coffee. Something about her attracts me, I let out, and Allie just nodded. I'm not saying that I desire her, but that I have this urge to get to know more about her life, you know? She is so mysterious. You've only known her for 2 days, Mila. What excessive desire is that? I didn't even know. How could a woman, who I'd never even had an open conversation with, occupy my thoughts so much? I needed to get to know her, know about her life, what she liked to do. It was so strange. It's not desire, Allie, just curiosity, I said, getting up from the couch. Dinah said that you've never danced in such a sensual way before. She looked at me with accusative eyes. Dinah doesn't know what she's talking about. I dance like I always dance, I said rapidly. I'm going to bed, good night, I said as I went to my room. I didn't desire that woman, I didn't even know her that well. God, I was only curious about her life. Why do we always wake up during the best part of our dream? It was so frustrating, I thought as I got up from bed, or rather, as I dragged myself out of it. I did all my morning hygiene, and I spent more time in the shower than I should. Today I was going to wear a white dress with black details, loose, but that still marked my curves. My hair was straight, like Camilla always wore it, which was quite different from Carla, who overused the waviness. I put on black high heels and light makeup. Are you all dolled up for Ms. Yaregui? I heard Dinah ask as soon as I entered the kitchen. I gave her a deadly look for saying those things in front of Allie. No, and stop saying nonsense, I always dress like this, I said, taking a sip of the juice that was in her glass. You're right, but you look even more beautiful today, Chancho. Dinah's absolutely right, you look wonderful. Do you want something from me? I asked suspiciously, making Allie and Dinah pretend to be offended. See, Dinah, Camilla doesn't believe in our compliments. I'm feeling hurt. I laughed at the melodrama those two were making, and I finished eating my breakfast. I was more than late. After a few minutes stuck in the regular traffic, we arrived at Yaregui Industry. I quickly went to my desk, and felt a slight fear for arriving late. Damn it, I approached her door, taking a deep breath. It was only the second day that I worked with her. I didn't know her mood or quirks, but I was sure that when that woman was angry she turned into a beast. I entered her office, and she was sitting on her huge chair, the back of the chair turned to me. You're late, Miss Cabello. Her voice was cold and rude. I'm so sorry, ma'am, the traffic in Miami isn't easy, I said uneasily. It would be better if you left home earlier, since you live far, she said, turning to face me. Lauren looked at me from head to toe with intensity, and I felt a shiver go through my body at the way she was looking at me. She looked beautiful, as always. I will. She nodded and made a sign for me to come closer. What do we have for today? Well, at 9 we have a meeting with the company shareholders about future contracts. After that, a lunch with Richard and in the afternoon we will review some balance sheets like you asked yesterday. In the evening. Cancel any commitment I have in the evening, I already have one, which by the way is more important, she said quickly. I wondered what she would do in the evening, or with whom she would be with. But quickly suppressed such questions, it wasn't any of my business. We spent the whole morning in the meeting with the shareholders, and during that time, I could see the imposing Lauren. Yaregui, she wasn't sweet and gentle, but authoritative and rude. And as weird as it may sound, that turned me on so much. I closed my eyes, listening to her voice echo in the room. I've had experiences with women before, but none of them turned me on so much. Where was my head at? A woman like Lauren would never give me the time of day in that way. The rest of the morning was calm. It was already mid-afternoon, and I was reviewing some balance sheets beside her in her office. Her perfume flooded my nostrils with a good, strong aroma. It was at least inebriating. Can I come in? I heard the voice of a woman, who entered the office all smiley. I saw Lauren smile. I didn't even know that she could smile, I thought. Of course, Vero, come in. The brunette walked in, closing the door behind her. She was really pretty. Her hair was brown and long, she had light skin and a thin body. She looked at me with an evaluative gaze, which made me blush. "We'll finish this later, Miss Cabello." I nodded and left the room, somewhat bothered for leaving them alone.
Support the channel with a reaction and write a comment under the video. Thank you very much for staying with me on the channel and subscribing.